I know that I question my own decisions almost daily and learn from my mistakes. I'd never been okay with status quo and constantly change things to improve who SOAR is and what we can do for our patients. These are the words of Danielle Anderson, owner of the Southern Ontario Veterinary Rehabilitation Clinic, and I absolutely love this. Vet rehab practice and business is all about this constant change. You can never ever be complacent. Things are always changing, and it's how you react and if you're ready for that change as to how successful your practice is going to be.
You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Megan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey Vet Rehabbers, today is one of my favorite type of podcasts. It's the Behind the Vet Rehab Practice podcast. I love listening to all you vet rehabbers about how you run your practices, that you share with us your highs, your lows, your marketing tips, and all the things that have worked for you and also all the things that haven't. But by sharing these, you're really helping the vet rehabber community. So I hope you guys enjoy these podcasts and learn as much from them as I do. Today I'm chatting to Danielle Anderson. She's from the Southern Ontario Veterinary Rehabilitation Clinic. She's a vet and she's also certified in acupuncture and rehabilitation. But before we chat with Danielle, I wanted to just remind you guys we have 4 amazing Facebook vet rehabber communities. We have the small animal vet rehabbers, hydro vet rehabbers, and the equine vet rehabbers. And those of you that are business owners, we also have the business vet rehabbers, which is one of our newest Facebook groups. There are wonderful, wonderful people on all of these Facebook groups. So, guys, please come and join us. They are very, very clever people that are sharing their ideas and are very supportive of everyone. You can go there, ask for advice, share your cases. It's really, really great place to be online every single day. They're not only for the online pet health members, we have opened them up to the whole vet rehabber community. If you have not already, please click the subscribe button to my podcast so you don't miss any of them. I think you're going to be really inspired by this one. So over to Danielle. Hey Danielle, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, how are you doing?
Danielle, I'm doing great, thanks. I'm very, very excited to have you on the podcast, and I want to just start off by if you can just share with the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you got into the field of veterinary rehabilitation.
Sure. So I've been a veterinarian for a while. I graduated from the Ontario Veterinary College in 2002, and practiced in small animal only, trying to get my kind of bearings on, being a new grad and everything else. I had trouble trying to find somewhere where I really fit with whatever medicine was being practiced and being forward thinking. And ended up in a practice where I was very, very happy. He was very much a fan of specializing. So everyone needed to have their own little niche that they could grow. And so rehab kind of came up at that time. And so I was probably 5 years out of school, and I took a 2-day workshop at a referral hospital, and I loved it. I totally fell in love with rehab, and I was like, this is totally what I need to do. And then I got pregnant. So that got put on the back burner a little bit for a few years. 2 young kids at that time. And then I started, I would go to the big conferences and take little courses. And I'm like, I still really, really want to do this. I was a little bit at a loss for, our senior patients and our post-op patients as far as, you max out your pain medications. And I wanted to give them more. So I did decide to pursue my CCRP in 2012 and finished it in 2013. And so I loved being a veterinarian. I loved doing surgery. I loved doing medicine. And it was really hard integrating that and finding time in my day to deal with that. And my boss, although was supportive in me doing rehab, really wanted me to kind of pass those things off to kennel staff to do the exercises or to do the laser. And I wasn't entirely comfortable with that. I started doing a little bit of kind of mobile stuff, very, very part-time. Because I had been a vet for a while. I knew a lot of the vets in the area, so they would send me cases here and there. But it was really hard. And at that point in my career, I really wanted to own something. Right or wrong, I had ideas of what I wanted as a business model, and I I wanted to try that out for myself. And it was hard. Initially, I wanted to buy a practice and integrate everything into it. And it's hard up here. I don't know what Australia is like, but we do have a lot of corporations coming in buying practices. So I just couldn't compete monetarily with some of that. And so I had an opportunity in 2015 to open SOAR in a brick and mortar practice. I was approached by someone who had been doing it for a while, a technician, and she wanted to open something. So we opened in Burlington. The location was key for us. The only rehab practices really in the area were at the vet college and then a big referral hospital in Mississauga. So we were kind of central. Everything was about an hour away from us and just gave people a break, not having to travel 2 hours to the next rehab facility. You know, so that's how we started anyways. That's where we began our journey. I was still doing regular medicine 3 to 4 days a week and trying to run this practice, which was probably my biggest mistake when I started. I needed to be there more. And so, yeah, I eventually, and I think it was probably a year and a half ago, completely stopped regular medicine. And then this is all I do now.
So at SOAR, you just do rehabilitation. So there's no sort of
Correct.
regular veterinary services there.
Correct. So one of the things I wanted to not do was be associated with a clinic, because especially now, because everybody is starting to open their own rehab practices, they're all associated with their own clinics. And I wanted us to be a little bit different. There was another one, and was very, very successful. And so I wanted the same sort of thing. Our veterinary laws are a little weird in Ontario. So as a veterinarian, I cannot work anywhere doing rehab unless I had a full hospital accreditation, which means they wanted us to have all medications and surgery packs and all of those things. So we had to apply for all kinds of waivers so we could open our rehab practice. So we did do that, and we are standalone. So we had to rely on referrals from other veterinarians, and we sent out mailers and we did all those things. And I feel like we weren't as successful as we could have been. Probably 2 years in, I started paying for more advertising and in 411 on Google and things like that. And I feel like we started trying to reach clients more than vets. And so although we're referral only and we won't see them without a referral from their vet, it was almost the best thing we could have done, because these people then go back to their vets and they say, hey, there's this place and I want to go there. And the vets would then refer to us. And I think over time they went, hold on, these people are helping our patients, and then they start referring on their own to us. And I think that's between that and the word of mouth from clients is what has kind of blew us up a little bit as far as how busy we are.
I mean, do you think it's an advantage not being associated with the clinic? I mean, do you
I
think that
do.
other vets are hesitant to refer to practices that are in association? Like if you have a rehab practice next door associated with
Right.
a primary vet.
I think so, because I think, and I remember meeting with a few vets about this before we opened, and their fear was client stealing, right? If we send something to you and you and they love that clinic and they're like, oh, we could just stay here, then the chances they're going to lose clients and they're not going to refer to us. And I will say in the first couple of years, because we are different in our approach, many clients said, so when are you opening your own real clinic so we can go see you? And I'm like, that's not going to happen, because I like what I do and we're successful because of this. And I've had clinics offer, say, hey, you should come open something beside us. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to stay independent. I think that's our best option at this point in time.
So, Danielle, I had the pleasure of going onto your website, and you've got a blog, which I'm very excited about because there are
Hmm.
not many vet rehabbers that have their own blogs. And I stumbled upon this awesome, awesome blog. So, vet rehabbers that are listening, I'm going to put the link in the description so you guys can actually go read it. But reading the blog, I actually thought I'm really going to focus this behind the vet rehab practice on the points that are actually in Danielle's blog. So the blog is how to run a successful vet practice, which is so great because Danielle has a successful vet practice. And that's why she's here today, because she wants to share with you guys exactly what she's doing and how she's doing it. So Danielle, I thought that I would go through the 7 points firstly, and then because you basically have 7 points, which are the things that are important to you, and then I thought we could just touch on each point and just elaborate on that, because I'm sure you've got loads to share about each point.
Sure.
So Danielle's 7 things are: one is be true to yourself. 2, develop positive relationships. 3, do not undervalue yourself. 4, choose the correct staff. 5, enable your staff. 6, reward your staff. And 7, remember your workplace and environment are influenced by you. So these are awesome, awesome points, and I'm so excited to dive into all of these. So now let's start about be true to yourself.
Hmm.
So
Um, Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, so like I mean I love this because it is just so true. So like it everyone, what you mentioned there is that your version of success is different to everyone else's, and I think that this is something that we forget, and sometimes we don't even know what is success to us. We actually need to sit down and think about it and think, like, what do we want? So when did that realization happen for you?
You know what? I think most of those realizations that I wrote that day were fairly recent. It has been a big journey in the last couple years. We 2 years ago we increased our business by 50%, and then this last year we were up 75% in generated revenue, which is huge.
Massive.
Um, yeah, and
Well
we're
done.
yeah, thank you. We're quickly outgrowing our space, right? We have like and and for me, I never wanted to sacrifice appointment times. I never wanted to just to get people in quicker. I wanted to spend that time, and I've been at places where, because I do a lot of acupuncture. The doctors would come in, they would put their needles in, and they would let them sit with a technician, and then they would leave. And I didn't want that. I think most of what I gain from what I do is those relationships with the people that come in, these incredible people, right? With amazing stories that all of a sudden you realize some of the things that they've been through in their life, and you just connect that much more with them and understand them better. You know what they want from their relationship with their pet because of these long conversations that you have with them, and I didn't want to ever sacrifice that. um, I'm also a ridiculously emotional person. I know I am, and I get attached. And I, in my career, have been told many times that I'm too emotional. You need to shut that off. You need to not cry about things. You need to not get so excited. You're up, you're down. And I'm like, but that's who I am. It's who I've been since I was a child. And it can be controlled, but I do think that's what makes me relatable to some of these clients that are coming in. So that's what I guess I kind of meant by be true to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I when we were at vet school, I don't know what it was like for you, but we were actually taught never to show emotion. So we were
Mm-hmm.
told you must not cry. And I used to just bottle it all up until I had to go home. And if I'd euthanized maybe 3 or 4 dogs, I'd get in the car and burst into tears and just, let it all go. And then when I had my vet rehab practice, I just actually decided, no, actually, I'm just gonna cry if I want to, and I can really relate to what you're saying now about those relationships, because that's the one thing that we have with our clients. We have a
Mm-hmm.
very different relationship with our clients because of that time that we spend, because it's also in a much more relaxed environment. It's not just in quickly, like, with normal veterinary practice, they're 15-minute consults. You're just doing things so quickly. You don't
Mm-hmm.
get too much of a chance to actually get to know people. And then we're also seeing them on a regular basis. I mean, I had clients that I would see every single week for a year. So
For years, yeah.
what's happening this week with them. And then when you see them again, how was your last week? How did the wedding go? And how did this happen? So you're seeing them so regularly. So that's why you build up those relationships. And, if you look at all the marketing gurus now, that's what they're saying. They're saying we must build these relationships. They're saying that we've forgotten the social out of social media because we're not being social, we're not
Yes.
talking, we're not building relationships. And those relationships is actually what your practice is built on, because through those relationships, you get people that support you and people that talk about you and tell other people about you, and word of mouth spreads. So not saying that doesn't happen in vet practices, but it happens more so when you build relationships and you connect with people. So yeah. So when you thought about success for your practice, what was it? So I always say this when I do these strategy calls with some of our vet rehabbers, and often they're not really sure about where they're going and what direction they're going. So they just sort of in the moment, and they need to actually sit down and decide, like, do they just want to be a mobile vet? And when I say just, I don't mean to undermine it, or I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
great. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But you got to decide, like, what do you want to do? And you can change your mind. So like, you can be a mobile vet and be that for 10 years and then decide I want a brick and mortar practice. But it affects the decisions that you make every day if you don't
Yeah.
know where you're going, because you just get lost. So like, when did you decide, like, what is success for you and your sort of direction when you said, yeah, you really wanted that vet rehab practice?
I think what I define as success changes still every day. Um, you know, I didn't know what this would bring. When I opened SOAR, I didn't know if we would generate enough income for me to pay myself well. I didn't know if we would ever be busy enough to support more than, 1.5 staff. So I was the half and my technician was like 30 hours a week. I didn't know what it would build. I didn't know whether it would be financially feasible at all, because everyone tells you it's not financially feasible. Why would you open something like that?
Yeah.
And I think every day, every single day, I am surprised at the number of referrals that we get and second opinions that we get because they trust us at this point. I'm surprised that we continue to grow every single month. I look at, and I'm one of those obsessive people that looks at the numbers and goes, oh my God, like, are we okay this month? Which every single month we've been up and growing, which is great. So I think now I don't know where I top that level of success. For me, I've been asked to speak at the vet conference in Toronto in October. So to me, that's another level of success. Helping teach the acupuncture course in Colorado, another level of success. Our practice continuing to grow and 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 be a source of knowledge for surrounding vets, again, more level of success. So do our next level is to buy a building, because where we're renting, we need more rooms, we need more space. We could easily add another water treadmill. I think we've added another laser, which has grown us again. But I think I don't have a place where I want to cap it at this point. We've been asked uh, potentially to open a second location in various spots. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm a very slow, I have to think about everything before I do it. And I don't, at this point, I don't know, but I'm very happy with the success we've achieved so far. I work 3 days in clinic a week, which leaves me 2 days to prepare presentations or maybe hang out with my kids, right? And shuffle them around to all their activities and be a wife and be a mom and do things at home, or maybe just have a day where I don't do anything at all, which rarely happens, but it does. And so I think for me, we're just ending our 5th year. Like, I feel like success has been achieved, and now I just need to reevaluate what that new level of success might be.
And success comes in different forms. I love that with the way you're explaining it, is that it's not necessarily income related and it's not necessarily how big your practice is. Success for you could be a mobile clinic and, like you say, educating, or some
Mm-hmm.
other way of succeeding. So it's not always income related. Let's go on to number 2. So develop positive relationships. So you obviously have got this so right, because you're getting, you say you're getting lots of referrals. So, I mean, obviously through word of mouth, that is a way in which it seems like you've grown some of your referrals. Is there anything else that you do to foster these relationships and increase referrals from vets?
I think I was extremely lucky because I did a lot of locuming for a while when I was transitioning from working full time and doing part time stuff. And I think that helped tremendously because I had worked in all of these clinics and developed relationships with those vets who now refer to me. Um, we are always on the phone or emailing and trying to constantly maintain those relationships. Um, yeah, I mean, we reach out as much as we can. And if vets call or email, sometimes just with a second opinion, hey, can you look at these x-rays? I'm more than willing to do those things because I think that is the one thing that's lacking in veterinary medicine here for sure, or starting to lack, is there's no collaboration, right? No one wants to work with one another. They sit on their island and they want to keep everything to themselves. And I think um, socially being able to reach out and even to other vet rehabbers, right? I know a couple of years ago, I had sent emails out to some of the local vets in Ontario and said, would anyone ever want to do like a almost like a dinner club, right? Where we could rotate different clinics, whether it's 4 hours away and we could Skype people in or within an hour and just say, hey, this is my clinic and these are some of the weird cases I've been working on and get others' ideas and just get to know one another. And everybody was on board. And then I got busier and I haven't gone back to doing and organizing that, but I still think about it because I think in regular veterinary medicine, it doesn't happen as much. So I try and collaborate with as many vets as I possibly can. And I'm the first one to go, this is a medical problem. You need to go back to your regular vet, and I'll call them and I'll say, hey, this is what I think is going on. And the good news is that we've talked enough that they kind of trust my opinion, like, okay, thanks, we'll look that up or whatever.
I love that idea of getting together, and it's something that I've actually also wanted to plan here in Cape Town. And we actually had a vet rehabbers get together, just a coffee, which was absolutely amazing, like a month ago. And I'm planning to do another one in about a month or two in Johannesburg. And it's, it's so much better when you're together with other people in a similar type of field, because then you can actually realize that, oh, okay, they also have these same worries and these same problems, and you can
Totally.
brainstorm. And sometimes, you don't even get anything that, oh, like I could do this, but sometimes you do. You get some like wonderful, wonderful ideas from vet rehabbers who have solved some problem, whether it be in practice or whether it be with cases. But it's just nice to have that community. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one in Johannesburg, and you got to get that going. You got to do it. Find some
Cool.
time. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously you're getting some referrals from vets. So how do you get most of your pet owners? Say, like if a pet owner just contacts you, so where do they come from? Is that through social media?
On our website a lot. So people will send us a message from the website and say, hey, we just had surgery, or we've got a dog that's limping, or whatever the case may be, or we have a senior. How do we go about making an appointment? And then the girls have they've developed a very standard kind of response saying, we would love to see your pet. This is what the initial consult costs, and we do have to have a referral from your vet. If they could send us a referral form that you can download off of the website with a brief history, any x-rays, anything that's been done. If they have not had a workup yet, then we usually recommend that they do that first. Some vets would rather me put my hands on and kind of see what I think prior to doing that. And then often I send them back. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I think, but we still need to do an x-ray, or we still need to work this dog up in order to proceed. And it's a back and forth that seems to work really, really well.
So one of the things that I think vet rehabbers generally forget about, and it's really just because they're so busy, is the marketing of their practice. And it's actually a continual
Hmm.
job, and it's something that you should be doing. So you mentioned earlier in the podcast that you had done some ads, some advertising. So what type of advertising do you do to get new clients?
So it is, I pay a certain amount a month to come up a little higher on Google searches and things like that. Um, that's pretty much it for us at this point in time. I did sponsor, my technician just spoke at the Ontario Association of Vet Technicians conference in Niagara Falls. So I sponsored that, so that shows up a little bit more for technicians and things. We have seen a large number of veterinarians and technicians animals. I usually discount them because, again, it's usually less work for me because they've already done the workup. And so I often, I think seeing those patients reinforces to them, who we are and what we stand for, and that we do a good job. And so I find reaching out to technicians and veterinarians in all the clinics is kind of our marketing.
And what about social media? Do you do any sort of social media like Facebook ads?
We don't do ads. We do a lot of posting on Facebook and Instagram. My Instagram account, I think it was a year ago. The girls were looking and they approached me and said, "So we need to talk because your Instagram is horrible. Can we please have access to it and fix that?" And they started posting all kinds of things. And I would say, all of us tend to post something, so it's happening regularly because there's 9 of us now. And so someone's always posting something and trying to either educate or just promote some of the cases that we're seeing, or just post cute things on Instagram. So we do Instagram and Facebook together.
So it's great. So everyone is involved in the social media. So it's not just one person who has to do it. I think that works
Yeah.
really well because the problem is if one person has it, you actually get a bit stagnant and you start to sort
Hmm.
of run out of ideas. And if you have a really busy day, then it doesn't happen. So do you have like a plan, or is it just ad hoc? Anyone just post when they feel like
It's
it?
pretty random.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll notice that some days we have nothing, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I should post something. And then everybody else posts something too. And there's like 4 posts in one day. But yeah, it tends to work. And one of the girls who, she was a volunteer, and then we hired her part-time while she's at school. She, even if she's at school on the weekends, she'll have stuff from Saturday and she'll post it on Sunday or something like that. And she was the one that really kind of kick-started the social media stuff, especially on Instagram.
Yeah, and I love it that you share posts of your patients because that's actually what clients and pet owners love. They love to see patients. They love to hear the story behind them. And we've got great stories. I mean, stories of
Mhm.
dogs that are paralyzed, that are walking again. So people love that kind of stuff. So I'm great.
Totally.
I'm gonna go and look for you on Instagram. So I've also recently
Okay.
just started my own Instagram page. So it's at Dr. Meg Kelly, and I'm just doing some business stuff for vet rehabbers there. So I've also started to get personally into Instagram, and I'm actually really enjoying it and learning lots about stories and things like that. So let's go on to number 3. Do not
Mhm.
undervalue yourself. This one is so important because I see so many vet rehabbers who undercharge for their services, and I'm not sure why they do it. I think they think that people are not going to pay for their services. And overall, it's not good for our profession because if
Mm-mm.
we're all undervaluing or all undercharging, we're not going to be able to make ends meet at the end of the month. So
Right.
how did this work for you when you went into practice? How did you decide what to charge? And because if we're all looking at everyone else and they're all undercharging, then we're all undercharging.
Hmm. Hmm. So I think part of it was when I started out, I felt like I wouldn't get clients if I charged too much, right? I didn't have a ton of experience. I'd just gotten certified, and I was way undervaluing. Like, there's no way I could have potentially paid myself well charging what I was charging. When we opened and had a little bit of a higher overhead, I did increase our prices, but looking back, um, there was no way I could pay a technician and myself well when I was charging what I was charging, because then there was nothing left to pay for heat and hydro and rent and everything else. I think looking at other people and what they charge, and some of them were, I mean, I have 9 years of university. I have 2 certifications now. I should be able to charge and feel like I'm worth what I'm charging. And there were people who had, I don't want to devalue what they do, but less education than what I had and charging more, right? People who had not completed the certification and they were charging double. And I was like, well, that just doesn't seem right. So I'm like, and I guess the other thing was we were so busy. I thought, you know what, if I increase my prices a little bit, it might just weed out maybe all of those appointments, and maybe we could just not be quite so busy. And that didn't happen. Instead, we seem to get busier, and I don't understand how that happened. But I think, you know, I have a vet that still comes back and kind of spends time with us. She's completed her CCRP now. She works in regular practice. And I think, you know, we see a lot of, as a referral hospital, we don't see typical post-op TPLOs very rarely. I think the majority of our cases are the weird and wacky that nobody can diagnose. And so they're fun, and they're like puzzles that we have to try and solve. And so they come back just to kind of see what's happening. And I think, you know, talking to her, I think she undervalues herself and her knowledge, right? She has the knowledge and she has the ability to do it, but she's like, well, I can't charge what you charge. I'm like, why not? Why not? You're a veterinarian who is, so you come about it in a different way than the technician might come about it, or the physiotherapist. So charge what you feel you deserve. And if you're spending an hour in that room, then what would that time be if you were in an exam for half an hour, right? So you need to kind of look at that and understand that people coming in every single week, they either are going to pay it, or they may go, okay, well, can we do every other week or every third week? And you can make that work, but don't undercharge because you don't think people can afford it, because you can't make a living, and the clinic that you work at is not going to be able to support you either.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we think if we charge less, then we'll have more clients, then we'll be busier.
Yes.
And normally when you increase your prices, then you, like you say, you weed a few people out. So there's certain people that will stop. But the majority of people don't, actually, because the majority of our clients that are already there do value us, and they're paying whatever we're asking them to pay us. And when you increase your prices, because I can remember every time I did a price increase, you get a bit worried. You think, oh, like, what's going to happen? You know, is everyone just going to say, no, it's too expensive? But they don't. You have 1 or 2 people that will complain about it. And those people probably would complain anyway, no matter what the price was.
Right.
And everyone else just keeps paying, you know. So, but you can either have really, really cheap prices and be really busy, or be more expensive and be less busy, or be the same busy like you guys are, and actually just do better. But the bottom line is that you actually, if it's going to work, you know, if you're going to have a vet rehab practice, you have to be able to pay yourself, pay your staff, pay all your expenses, and actually make profit, because that's what a business is about. Otherwise, you might as well work for somebody else. If you're not making profit, then you just have a job, right, with all the stress of the practice. So you've got to make profit. And you can't make profit if you're not charging enough. That's the bottom line. So it's
absolutely.
And if you're in a situation now, vet rehabbers, where you think, like, I'm actually undercharging, then you need to incremental increases. You can't just go wham and just say suddenly increase prices drastically. But you can do small increases every 6 months or every 4 months, small ones, to get you up to where you actually should be.
And I think there's guidelines even in regular practice, like 50% of your generated revenue should go to your staff and your salary, right? And so we've been able, I think it's very, very helpful that we double book in our days. So my technician has a run of appointments. I have a run of appointments. We're actually triple booking now because we have run out of appointment times again. And I think having that, again, increases your generated revenue and increases your ability to pay yourself well. And if there's extra, then again, I know that's another point on your list, but that's when you give that back to the staff a little. We either have a staff party and I'll order pizza for everybody or sushi or whatever we feel like eating that day. Or, we went out on a wine tour for Christmas and, we paid for that. I think our team is one that is very, very, you work very close together, right? You're in the same building, very close all day long. If you don't get along and there's a piece of the wheel that's just kind of off a little bit, it just doesn't work the same. And I think, being able to give back to your staff, whether that's, percentage of revenue or a bonus every once in a while, I think they absolutely appreciate it. So you can't do that if you don't charge appropriately.
So let's talk about the staff, because so 4, 5,
Mm-hmm.
6 was choose the correct staff, enable your staff, and reward your staff. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've all had staff that haven't fitted into our practices. And then we've had those staff that are just absolutely wonderful. So, I mean, what advice could you give to choose the correct staff? I mean, how's that work?
So, I mean, when I started, I think I started because I was in a place in my life that I wanted to have this and probably didn't listen to some of the alarms that you have in your gut initially. And, a year and a half, 2 years went by and those alarm bells became realized. And so we did host several CCRP students and volunteers. And so at the time, that's who I called when I needed to start hiring. And I continue, that's how we find our staff. So my main technician that I hired first was a CCRP student who also was trained by a colleague of mine who I very, very much respect. And so hiring her was fantastic. And I remember thinking, I don't know if I can give her enough hours. I don't know if I can pay her appropriately. And as soon as she started, like, our practice again took off because she's absolutely wonderful and her passion for rehab is so apparent. And so we often, every summer we apply for a grant in Ontario, and the grant is for summer students to come in, and they pay half of the salary and wage, because I'm always like, we're busier in the summer, but can I afford to take on that extra person? And every time I've gotten that grant, I've kept that person on through the rest of the summer as well as part-time throughout the year. And those students usually were volunteers. These volunteers, they want to get into vet school, they want to do this, and they will drive an hour and a half every single week throughout the school year to help you out. And if you pay attention really, really closely to those personalities, you know what's going to work. And when you are hiring, that's usually the pool of people that I choose from. So all of our part-timers and our full-timers have come from either people who have volunteered or people we knew.
Yeah, so people that you'd actually had some experience with, so you'd got to know
Totally.
them, you know sort of what their beliefs are and their core values and that. So that's one of the tricky things. So you guys in the States are so lucky because you have this massive pool of people that you can employ.
Mm-hmm.
When I had holistic vets, my vet rehab practice, there was nobody. When I say nobody,
Yeah.
if I had to train people to do hydrotherapy, there was, now there's courses, and now they have the CCRP at University of Pretoria, honest poets, but I had to initiate that. So myself and another vet, Monique, we contacted Beata Egner and said, Beata, please, can you get the CCRP here in South Africa? We need locums. We need to go on holiday. And between Monique and myself, we used to have to plan our holidays. She had a practice in the northern suburbs, like an hour away from me, and we couldn't go away at the same time because we were seeing each other's patients. So there
Wow.
are a lot of countries. I mean, I know in the UK too, there are not enough people in this field. So you actually don't have a big pool of people. So you maybe have one or two
Mm-hmm.
candidates, and you're desperate. And so you
Right.
often have to employ somebody, or you don't. You got to make a decision. And my gut
Mm-hmm.
feeling is not to employ somebody that is not right. Then you just keep on with the struggle until that right person comes. Because once you get somebody that doesn't fit in your practice, and when I say doesn't fit, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are not good at what they do. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not a nice person. They're all those things, because I mean, I can
Mm-hmm.
remember having people that worked for me that were amazing, and I'm friends with them still, but they just, their beliefs and the way that I practiced and that they practiced were just different. And then you just don't
Mm-hmm.
gel, you just don't fit in. Your team has to have the same beliefs as you, and they have to have the same work ethic as you, I believe, for it
Mm-hmm.
all to work well together. So how many people do you employ now?
There, including myself, there's 9 of us.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so we have one other vet who is part-time. She works somewhere else, but she just took a new job actually. And I was like, can you still help out with us? And she's like, I don't want to leave, because she does like the team atmosphere that we have there. So she still pitches in and helps relieve us when we're sick or on vacation or away teaching or whatever. Um, and then we have another vet who is from Mexico who is acupuncture certified. So she helps out relieve some of the acupuncture, because I was getting to the point where I only worked 3 days a week. I didn't want to work more for obvious reasons. And she just happened to show up at the right time. And now we can book acupuncture 6 days a week, and we're super, super busy. So she's been a godsend, and she wants to do her rehab certification as well. I have 2 rehab techs that are CCRPs. And then I have assistants that we've trained. So they were volunteers, then we hired them on. So they do reception, they do all my emailing, and they're critical to us running properly. If it's an extra hand we need with a crazy dog and we're trying to do exercises with, or holding a popsicle while I do acupuncture, whatever, they're essential to the smooth running of our practice for sure. And I think having those specific jobs, I don't know how we did it before. Before, when I was just by myself all the time and I was answering phones, and yeah, it's so, I know we're losing one of our main girls next year. She's going back to school, which is what we want, right? We want these are smart kids. This is the girl who bought herself a veterinary and coloring anatomy book for Christmas so she could better understand the stifle. Right? So, and like they're going to do great things in this world, and they're not meant to be rehab assistants forever. But it's a matter of showing them how to run the water treadmill. We're still in the building, we're still doing other things, but being able to pass that off so we can keep moving with some of the other appointments has been critical to us working.
So you sound like you've got a great team. You really, really do.
We do. Yeah.
So let's chat a little bit about how you enable them and how you reward them.
Mm-hmm. So they have lots of ideas, whether it is organization of the clinic or how they think maybe something should run. They will come to me and they'll be like, this is what we think, or can we have a staff meeting and just reorganize the whole clinic so we can make this more efficient? And I'm like, yeah, whatever you guys want. There are times I say, no, I don't like that idea. But for the most part, I mean, they think about things. They want us to be successful, and so I have to reward that.
Yeah.
I do try and give them bonuses. At Christmas, they all got a bonus, and I know some of my full-timers, my goal is to be able to reward them monetarily when we are up for that quarter, to say, here's a bit of a bonus. Just, I pay the rehab technicians well, but a little bit extra is always nice too. My one technician drives 2 hours
Wow.
in good traffic, 4 days a week. She is undeniably wonderful, and I think in the future, I don't know what I would do without her. So if it means I have to open another practice closer to where she lives so I can keep her, I will do that. She wants to do her VTS. She's doing speaking engagements. She's wonderful. So I pay her a bit of a gas bonus on
Yeah.
every paycheck, just to kind of help alleviate some of that as well, because she's worth it to me.
It's great to have very proactive staff. so
Mm-hmm.
they're actually coming to you with ideas. So it's not
Yes.
you, the one who's saying like, these are all the ideas. They're actually coming to you, which is really, really,
Mm-hmm.
really great. And I think that's probably got to do a lot with you being the leader, and that obviously gets to the last point is, remember, your workplace environment is influenced by you. So you're
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a great job. So your team is only as good as the leader is. So well done on everything that you're doing. If you had
Thank you.
to describe SOAR and to somebody what it's like to work there, how would you describe it?
Whew. Stressful, um, but fun. Like there's
Yeah.
days where Thursdays seem to be the craziest day. We're open from sometimes 9:30 till 8:30 at night. It's a long day, and it is packed full of craziness sometimes, and weird cases that we can't figure out, and clients that are, again, they love their patients and their pets, so they're so stressed out, so they're a little intense sometimes, and trying to calm them down take a lot of energy out of us. And there's been times at the end of the night we're just like, let's just go have a glass of wine. Let's like decompress and just chat and laugh, and to be able to finish a 12-hour day laughing, um, I think is says a lot to my staff. um, there it, and the other thing I've noted to them, I've worked in clinics where you walk in the morning and you're like, good morning, and you get a grunt from whoever that is in the practice. And I am not a morning person. I don't love it. But I do believe a polite good morning and a smile goes a long way. And my staff, I'll be there sometimes first. And as they file in, it's like, good morning. And there's a smile. And I said, it just changes the mood of the whole day. And I think people automatically go, well, that's just not my personality. I'm like, well, at SOAR, that's the personality you kind of have to have. You don't have to be happy all the time. And everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses within the clinic itself. But I do believe that you need to start the day with at least a hi and a good morning, because I feel like it's contagious and it can go the other way as well.
Well done. You sound like you've got an awesome, awesome team. I wanted to chat about, the success of your practice lastly, because, a lot of the vet rehab clinics are struggling, and for
Mm-hmm.
different reasons. They can't either get clients, or maybe they're not charging enough. If you had to say the one thing that has really helped your practice to be successful, what would you say it is? Sorry, it's
I
a
don't
hard
know if
one.
there's any. I know it is hard because I don't know if there's any one thing. I think it is a combination of all of the things that we've talked about. And I think
Yeah.
there is a level of trust from clients, as well as from referring vets. Um, and I think, being good at what you do and knowing it's hard. It's hard because you never want to sound arrogant, but there has to be a level of confidence that comes with what you do. And I think our ability to diagnose some of these patients um, has been very good, and where they may not have had one before. And I think that seems to have spread within the local communities as well, and local veterinarians. I think maybe it's hard because I really don't know. I think it's a staffing thing. I think it's our ability to always want to do better. Um,
Yeah.
and even now, I think, I sometimes I'll come in the morning. I'm like, okay, guys, I couldn't sleep last night. I have a new idea. Tell me if I need to be medicated. Should we go ahead with this? And my technician will be like, that's a great idea. Let's do it. And so, we have all these ideas. It's a matter of not being so busy that we can actually put them into place. So
And it sounds like you guys are just having a load of fun every single day,
so much fun.
and I think that passion is a big thing. Passion for what we do, and like you say, is always striving to be better. So like just with
Mhm.
this continual effort to improve yourself in any way that you can for the outcome of our patients.
And
So
educate the vets too, right?
yeah,
There's a lot of vets that don't know that this is an option, and that, you know, even though your options are, oh, you should go for surgery or you should euthanize, I'm like, hey, us, like we can help, right? So educating your local vets is big.
so anything in your practice that you did that you wish you hadn't of? So like any regrets that maybe have slowed down your growth?
I think I had a lot of trouble getting funding opening SOAR in the beginning. And so we went very minimalistic. There were so many things I wanted to do and build, and I had to just scrap everything to say, okay, well, we'll get a water treadmill, we have our laser, and we have our exercise stuff. Um, I think, again, not being true to my gut feelings about staffing initially, but I can't really look back because everything I've done has gotten us to where we are. So
Yeah.
I think if you don't learn from the mistakes you've made, and I know I've made a lot of them, then how do you grow, right? So I think I just have to go, you know what? I'm sure I've made tons of mistakes, either in an HR perspective or not being there enough in the beginning and not just going with both my feet jumping in. Um, you know, it was a slow growth, but it led me to where we are. So I think we just have to run with that now.
I think it's been that slow. I mean, you guys are 9 people and you've just been for 5 years. So if you
But
think
I
that's
think
slow,
that's all
then
happened in the last it's been in the last 2 years, I would say, that we jumped from like a volunteer and maybe like to staff, right? I think that was the it just, the last 2 years have been crazy in growth. The first few were a little bit slower. So again, I look back and go, I don't know why. I can only presume why. And I don't know.
well, watch the space because the if the fast growth is happening, I'm really excited to see where you and Saul will be in the next 5 years.
Me
So
too.
thank you so much for sharing all your experiences and giving all the advice. And yeah, for those of you that are interested in that blog, it's really a great read, guys. I'm going to put the URL in the description notes. Danielle, thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful talking to you.
You too. Thank you, Megan.
Cheers.
Bye.
Vet Rehabbers, for more information on how to take your career to the next level, go to www.onlinepethealth.com. Please don't forget to subscribe to my podcast so you'll get notified. I'm here every single week talking to vet rehabbers from all over the world, learning, and I would love you to join me. Hope you have an awesome day further. Cheers for now.